So I'm going to start your project from the very beginning, and we'll just get as far as we can. And so let me just say this too. I'm going to click on the architectural template here to begin. I'm not going to follow the assignment exactly. So I'll create wall types, but I won't look at the assignment just to verify they're the identical assembly from the assignment, right? So some of my things the assemblies might be slightly off just because I'm not going to take the time to look at the assignment, right? But I will create wall types and do different things like that for the assignment. All right, so sorry guys, I'm like way better, but I'm still just got a little bit of a cough left. But much improved, obviously, from last week. Okay, so first things first, when I'm using a set of drawings to draw something else, the first thing I'm going to do is lay out the structural grid so that I get everything aligned the way that it should be. So I'm going to draw the grid first, okay? And let me just say this, I'm going to move quick on this, but I know you can slow down or speed up YouTube, right? So if you need to repeat something or whatever, you can stop and rewind. So I'm going to go pretty quick through all of this. So I'm going to be on the architecture tab. I'm going to type LL, which is the keyboard shortcut for levels. Or sorry, no, I want to do grids. I'm sorry, grids, GR, grids, GR. Okay, so they're right there. And I'm going to draw some grids. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's get through those. Now, another thing I want to point out, I'm on level 1. I'm creating this in a floor plan. So there's my grid number 1. And my next grid is going to be 6 feet away from that. Okay, so GR grid, and it's going to be 6 foot. So my offset is 6 foot. Enter. And I use the offset, the pick tool, right? So if I click on that, I get a second grid 6 feet off of that. Grid number 3 is at 9 feet. So I use my pick tool. I type in 9 foot, enter. There's my next grid. Grid 4 is 4 feet from that. So I change my offset, 4, enter. Oop, click, there's my next grid. Grid number 5 is 10 foot 6. 10 foot 6, enter. There we go. And then we have 4 foot 6 from 5 to 6. 4 foot 6, enter. And I'm just using the pick, so I'm picking between these. Then I have 8 foot 6 between 7 and 8. 8 foot 6. And then we have 4 foot there. So 4 foot, enter. And there we go. And I'll just verify that was our last grid. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is start doing my horizontal grids. Actually, I'm going to kind of maybe customize these so that they're a little bit more like how I want them. Turning the little grid heads on this side. So I select. Oop, I've done a few things bad. What did I just do? 9, 10, 8. Okay. So click, escape, click, escape, click, click, escape. So I'm just hitting escape in between each of these, clicking, escape, right? I select, escape. There we go. Looks pretty good. I'm going to change my scale right now. I just noticed, I'm thinking these grids are kind of touching, and I was going to change the head position on them, but I kind of am thinking ahead, knowing my scale of my drawing is going to be 1/4 of an inch, and I know that if I change the scale, my annotation will scale with it. So I'm just doing that right now, so that I don't change the way my annotation looks on the screen, just to then have to change it again when I alter the scale. Drag that in just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to create my horizontal grids. So GR, and the first one that I have to generate is going to be horizontal, and I have to draw it. So that's going to be grid line A. So here's my A. And it immediately goes to 10, of course, but I want this to be, oh wait, did I? 8. Okay, good. thinking maybe I deleted one. There's my A. So I'm going to change that to A. A. Okay. If I didn't want to use the pick tool to create another grid, I can also copy these if that is easier for you. So I can select it, I can type CO on my keyboard, CO copy, right? Or I can click on copy. And I click on it, I move in the direction I want to go, and I type 4 foot, enter. I want to copy again, CO. Click. Now we're at grid line C, which is 6 foot 3, 6 foot 3, enter. And then ABC, ABC. Oh wait, no, I made a mistake. That's 12 foot 9. So how do I fix my mistake? Well, if I click on my grid, I'm not, okay, there's a temporary dimension there. I could change that, right, to 12 foot 9. Or if I don't see that temporary dimension, I could do DI dimension, DI, and I could create a couple of dimensions right there and see that that needs to be 12 foot 9. Select the grid line I want to move downward. If I had picked on B and changed this dimension, it would move B up. Okay. If I pick on C, it moves it down. So I'm going to change this to 12 foot 9. Okay. My next grid line, I'm going to grab this and CO, copy, down to grid line D, which is 6 foot 3. And then we have a 19 foot from D to E. So CO, 19 foot, enter. Okay, I'm going to add a couple more dimensions to these grids just so that I can visually see what's happening with them. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so DI dimension, click, click. So I just click between objects. I can align them. And then to finish the dimension, I click in space. Click. All right. I'm also going to dimension these grids. Click, 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 right? I go right in between them. And I finish off by clicking in space. Click. Okay, I'm going to immediately kind of bring these grids in a little bit. Right. I'm not always great about it, but I kind of like to clean things up a little bit as I'm going, just because by the end I either forget or I don't have a lot of time. And so the nicer things look, the easier it is, right, for me to print or show a client drawing. So I always just try and make it a little pretty as needs be. Okay, so I have all my grids created. Bless you. Uh-oh. Is that the first symptom? I know, the head cold of death. I stopped in to see, this is funny, I stopped in to see one of my colleagues this morning over at Method Studio, and we had coffee with my husband, and I set my coffee mug down, and he wasn't paying attention, and he picked my coffee mug up and drank from it on accident. It was like, I thought he was gonna like act like he caught the bubonic plague. Which he probably has, but poor guy. All right, so let's let's draw some walls here. And the first wall that I'm going to draw is this exterior wall. And I'm going to create a wall type for that. And again, I'm not going to look at the assignment. I'm just going to generate one that I think, if I remember correctly, is pretty close to this one I want to create. So I'm going to go up to wall type, wall, and I could draw a wall, or I could just edit from the menu here. I'm going to drop down, and I'm going to try and find a wall type that is most similar to the one I want to generate on the screen. So if I remember correctly, right, we've got CMU here, we've got a wood stud here, so I'm going to try and replicate that. So let's see, exterior insulated CMU, or CMU on metal stud. That looks even better. Okay, so I'm going to hit edit type. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'll call this something like wall type 1 and exterior wall. Okay, hit edit structure. We have our CMU, we have an air gap, we have our air infiltration barrier or plywood sheathing. Instead of metal stud, I'm going to make this a wood stud by clicking on the little ellipsis. Wood. Here we go. Softwood lumber. Okay. A 2x4 or 2x6 wood stud is 5.5 inches, right? Not actually 2x6. And then we have our vapor retarder and we have our gypsum board. So those are the changes I'm going to make to the exterior wall. Okay. Okay. And I don't know if I've said it in this class, but one other thing I kind of like to do is while I'm creating wall types, I know that I'm going to have another couple of wall types in there that I need, right? So before I begin looking at things and before I start drawing, because when I get into drawing mode, I'm thinking about where the walls go and the dimensions between things and all that good stuff, right? Before I get into that mode, I'm just going to create 2 more wall types so that, you know, I'm in the create wall type mode. I'm just going to continue on with that. So I'm going to create this interior 2x4 wall. So I'm going to change my wall type to something very similar. Edit type, duplicate. So we'll call this interior 2x6 wood stud. I'm going to hit edit type, and it looks like we have 2 layers of gypsum board, which we don't need. So I'm going to click on that and hit delete one. Change this to 1/2 inch. We have a metal stud. I'm going to change that to wood stud. There we go. Or not, what am I thinking? 3.5, right? And then we'll get rid of that layer and we'll make this gypsum wall board 1/2 inch. Okay, so there's my gypsum wall board. I'm going to hit a 2x4 wood stud wall. Oh, I meant to do a 2x6. Let me edit that. Edit. Edit. Because I named it 2x6. We'll make this a 2x6. Okay. So my 2x6 wood stud wall created. Now I'm going to create a 2x4 wood stud wall. Actually, I don't know why I did it. Well, that looks like a 2x6 right there. Duplicate. 2x4 wood stud. Rename it. Hit edit type. And everything is exactly as I want it, right? I just have to change the thickness of the stud. So this will be a 3.5 inch wood stud. There we go. And one final, we'll do a tile wall. And actually, I'm gonna have 2 tile walls, one with tile on one side and one with tile on both sides, right? And so I'm gonna hit edit type. Probably should be a 2x6, but that looks like a 2x4 compared to this one. So duplicate. We can say interior 2x4 wood stud. Tile one side. Edit. I'm going to click on the finish, hit insert, and let's see, move that down. And it's not a structure, right? It is a finish, number 2, and it's number 2 because, oh, it looks like this was a little bit undone. No, it's a finish number 1. One from the interior side to the exterior. Is that right? Well, it'll let me know if I get it wrong. But 1, 2, 3, and then we don't have a 4, so 5. I click on the material. I type tile. And there we go. We'll give it a 1 inch thickness. Oh, I knew it. I knew it. Gypsum wall board. Needs to be a 5. Okay, and it has to be this probably could be a 4 here, and that could be a 5. There we go. Okay. All right. And then we have one more wall type, which is tile on both sides of the wall. So edit type, duplicate, 2x4 wood stud, tile on 2 sides. Okay. Edit the type. And I have tile there, so I'm going to come up here now and hit insert. And it's going to be another finish. And it's going to be tile. I'm going to hit OK. There we go. Okay, so it took me about, a couple minutes, but then I don't have to go back to doing that. Oh, and in fact, there's one other wall type I forgot, and that's going to be the foundation wall that I want to create. So I'm just going to do that while I'm here. And I want to have a foundation wall, edit type, duplicate, sorry. And I think we'll make this just 8 inches. Edit, 8 inches, hit OK, OK, and we have our wall types generated, right? So it took me a few minutes to add those wall types, which, you think, oh, I'll just do it when I get to it, but I get lazy when I get to it, and I just want to do the drawing, and I don't like to create wall types, so we'll just do that. So now it's time for me to start drawing walls, all right? And as I start drawing walls, I need to start thinking about how tall those walls are, right? So I need to start thinking about the levels that are going to be set up within my project, right? So I'm doing a little bit of setup now. To do that, I'm going to look at my elevations here. I could actually probably get a little better information from my sections to kind of see where level 1 hits and maybe where like the top of my wall is going to hit, right? So I look at my elevations here, and this one is 59.32, and that's 59.42 foot 3 inches. So that's 10 foot 3 inches from here to there. Okay, so we'll go with that for right now. 10 foot 3. To view my levels, I need to go into an elevation view. And I see these 2 levels are 10 feet apart. I'm going to click on my level, change it to 10 foot 3. So that is from here to there. Now if I want to kind of get a little bit of ahead, I could look here and look at maybe where my roof is going to hit and say we have from 32 to 47, so that's 15 foot 4, right? And I could create another level. 15 foot 4. So there's my levels, LL. And I'm going to use my pick tool. I'm going to give an offset of 15 foot 4, enter. And there's my top of roof. Okay. So I don't like the terminology level 2 because we don't actually have a level 2. What level 2 is going to be really, oops, oh, look at me creating all these crazy levels. What my level 2 is actually going to be is going to be called top of wall, right? So over here I have top of wall now. It's not actually like level 1. Level 3 is going to be roof. There we go. Let's zoom out here. And I'm going to have a basement, okay? And I'm going to make the basement level, I can't remember what I said, but I'll just do it the same level as the main level, which is what, 10 foot 3. So again, this is not going to be identical to your project, but it'll be pretty close. Level, LL, pick, give it an offset, 10 foot 3. There we go. And we'll call this one basement. All right. So I've got my my levels set up. We can see my grids here. I could probably pull my grids up nice and neat and make them more readable here. Oop, one thing I am seeing here is top of chimney. Let's add that top of chimney because I think we're for sure going to need that. So that's from 32. I'm going to get my calculator for this one. So we've got 59.51 minus 59.32. So that's 19 feet. Okay, so 19 feet from here to top of chimney. It's another level. Use the pick tool. 19 foot, enter. Oh, from level 1. That's not right. Oh, I think maybe I gave the wrong offset to my roof. What was my roof? 15 foot 4? So I made a mistake somewhere, but our lovely Revit is very forgiving. 15 foot 4. There we go. That looks better. I didn't even notice. And now my chimney level is going to be 19 feet above level 1. So now, right, that luckily that error really kind of pointed itself out early, which is nice. So use my pick. 19 foot, enter. Oop, there we go. So this is going to be called top of chimney. There we go. Oh dear. I was making... Okay, there we go. All right. Any questions so far? Anything? Okay. So we have our grid set up, we have our levels set up, right? We have our wall type set up. Now we're just really ready to start drafting. So I'm going to look at my floor plan here, and I'm going to draw all my exterior walls, all right? And hopefully, and we've done this, I think, before a little bit in class, but hopefully all of my exterior walls act very nice and they run along grids, which they all do, right? So I'm going to start at the intersection of A and 2, and I'm just going to start drawing walls. So I'm going to go back to level 1. Okay, A and 2. And I'm going to choose my wall type. So wall, this is going to be my exterior wall type that I generated. And one thing I want to remind you about when you're drawing, choose an appropriate location line, right? If I have draw from wall center line, look, it's going to draw center line, which I don't want, right? So I'm going to choose instead finish face exterior, which will allow me to draw from the exterior line. So we've got, oh, and it's drawn on the stud, it looks like, on both of those. Okay. Okay, let's see. Actually, I don't want it finish face exterior. I want it finish face, core finish face. Hopefully that works. So the core finish face, what that means, let me hit edit here. The core finish face means that we have a core boundary here, right? So that means that instead of drawing from the outside face of the concrete masonry, which is technically a finish in this case, right? We are going to draw from the finish face of the core boundary, which is the lumber here, okay? And that, if you look at the plans here, this wall is, the grid line is drawn to the face of that stud, so it's to the core boundary instead. So I'm going to click here, click. Looks like it is working, and that goes all the way over to, and I'll show you how to create this. That goes all the way over to, we'll just take it all the way over to 7. Okay, click. And that goes all the way down to, let's see, grid line C. So this goes down to C. If I make a mistake, just yell it out. And then it pops back in over to 6. So over to 6, click. And then this goes from 6 all the way down to E. There we go, click. And then we go all the way from this corner all the way back over here to grid line 1. Okay. And then we go up to D. And then we go back over to 2. And then we shoot all the way back up and connect those two right there. Okay, so you're not seeing a lot of the detail of the wall here, and that's because my coarseness level is set to coarse, so I don't see any detail, so I'm going to change it to medium. And now I can see where my stud is, where everything is happening. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do here is, it actually looks like the exterior, well, that looks like CMU. Let me come back to this area here in a minute. No, I'll do it now. Let's see, where does it pop into? It pops into B. Okay, so I'm going to bring my exterior wall into B, and then I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to look at one of the elevations and just see what the materiality is like in that little area. Is it right there? Right? Is that it? Yeah. Okay, so we've got windows. Bless you. Doesn't look like, okay, it's just all windows there. Okay, so I'm going to grab onto my wall. Have I showed you guys create similar yet? Okay, one of my biggest pet peeves about Revit, and let me tell you, I love Revit, but I get really tired of scrolling through menus to find things that I need. And so create similar is a way for me to pick an item that I want to draw without looking through a menu, and create similar appears as an option. I click on create similar and I'm able to create this identical element for whatever I'm drawing next, essentially. Ooh, wait a minute, I have an error there, don't I? That goes up to A. Ooh, nobody pointed it out. You see that? This grid line actually goes up to there. AL align, click. I drew it on starting on the wrong grid line. There we go. So that was the wrong place. So now I'm gonna dip back into here. Okay. So I click on my wall, create similar. There we go. And I'm gonna bring my walls between grid line 4 and 5. And I'm just going to probably bring it down to there, it looks like. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Click, create similar. And this won't show up until you you pick on something. Oh, that wall's the wrong orientation, so I'm going to flip it. There we go. And now I need to have, it looks like just a wood stud wall right there. So WA wall, change to 2 by wood stud. And we're probably gonna have to change the material of it, but I'm gonna get my 2 by stud wall in there. Looks like there's a finish on it. Okay. There we go. I'm going to draw my 2 by stud. Oop, not from center line. Finish face exterior. Let's see. There we go. I think we're going to have to add an exterior finish. Okay. All right. So I've created this wall here, right? I've turned this in here. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this wall. All right. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back and fix it. But I'm going to go to modify and I'm going to choose split. And I'm going to click on the wall and it splits it in half, and I can trim, TR, trim. Okay, and I kind of have my little balcony that bumps in right there. Now, if that doesn't quite work with my roof, which I don't think it will, we'll get to that in a second. But for now, we've got things somewhat working the way they should. So I'm going to now zoom out, and I'm going to start putting some interior walls in. Okay, so I think, let's see, where should we start? I think I'm going to start here because I've got a nice wall and a grid line, and that makes me happy. So I'm going to use that appears to be a 2 by 6. This appears to be a 2 by 6. These walls look thinner, like they're 2 by 4s. I'm just guessing, of course. Okay. So I'm going to go to architecture wall, And I'm going to choose my 2x6 wood stud wall, and I'm going to start drawing my walls. Okay, so this one's going to align with the grid line. It looks like at the core. So core face. And that's going to go over to, it looks like this grid line, click, and then turn down and die in here. Okay, we've got a little opening here. We'll come back to that. And we'll draw some of these interior walls here. Okay, so now I have, I've got this wall. Let's see, let's maybe, I can't remember how I worked this out last time. Maybe I need to draw this bathroom area first, so let's do that to see what's left over here. So between grid line 4 and 5, yeah, that's how we did it. We've got some walls. Okay, so wall, and these are going to be, we'll do the 2x4 wood stud with tile on one side, and the tile is going to be to the inside of the bathroom. Finish face, core, interior, there we go. So that's going to go, let's see, finish face, there we go. Okay, and it comes almost all the way down to this grid, but I'm not quite sure how far off that grid it is. So I'm just going to get it to take this to that grid line, and then I'll alter it if I need to. I'm going to draw over to here, and then I'm going to draw upward to here. So this wall where it sort of meets that wall, that connection is not looking quite correct, right, as I'm drawing it. And I want it to look like this, nice and clean, so I'm going to align these. AL. There we go. Looks pretty good. It's slightly off the grid, but we're going to say it's okay here. Something is just slightly off. Okay. There we go. Now if I type SD shade, I get a shaded view of all these elements, so I can see the tiles on the inside of that wall, right? All right, now I need to draw this wall down the center. So WA, wood stud on both sides, and I am kind of guessing it just is identical on both sides. So this would be a good time to draw the wall from center line. Pick the center point, click, click, and just bisect those two, that room. Okay, so we're getting there. Then I have just have a few other little walls. Then we'll tackle the fireplace, then we'll add the floors in next. Okay, so let's see, let's kind of get this little area in here. So I have my opening for my hallway here, which looks pretty good. And then it looks like I have a 3'9" closet here. So I'm going to click on wall, 2x4 wood stud, and I don't quite know where this is here, so I'm just going to draw something, and then I'm going to come back and revisit it, right? Revise it, just like good old Revit, right? So it's going to look somewhat like that, right? And then I'm going to have something like this right here, and I don't quite know where these all fall, but I'm going to get them in the general right position and then fix them after. Okay. To fix them after, I'm going to add some dimensions and move things around. So I'm going to click DI dimension, and I'm going to get the interior dimension of this thing. And did you notice it wanted to come down here and grab the wall, right? But I'm going to tab till I get the face of that wall. I'm going to click on the wall that needs to move down, and instead of 4'7", that needs to be 3'9". So I now am able to, I placed that wall correctly. Okay. And I don't think we ever got a dimension on this one, but if that's a washer dryer, then it's probably 30 inches, maybe 32 inches on the inside here. Oh, I guess it lines up with that grid. There we go, 6, grid line 6, perfect. Okay, let's see. AL, I want these two walls to flush out there. Okay. And that works out 3'9". Okay. This one, DI dimension. There we go. Tab to get the face of the wall. And we'll make that maybe. See when I highlight, oh, that one's tricky. Let me delete that. DI. There we go. There we go. 32 inches. So to accommodate the washer, dryer, or whatever, 32 inches. Okay. So I have my closet. I have my my linen / laundry closet here. I have my 2 bathrooms. Now I need to create my closet area over here. So it appears as if my little bathroom wall is slightly above this grid line, right? And let's see, we figured this out one time. 9 inches? No, that's 9 inches. 5'6" right there. Okay. So this wall right here starts 5'6" off of this wall. Perfect. So I'm going to click on this wall, choose create similar. And I'm going to draw a wall that's in line with it up to a certain point, right? I'm guessing on these things because I know I'm going to have to go back and revise them. I know that. So I just get something in there and then I can fix it. Okay. So DI dimension, tab. So that's going to be 5'6" right there. Okay. And then we've got 5'6" to there. And then we have 9 inches, or 9 inches plus 2'1", so that's 2'10" to this wall. Another DI. So I pick that wall, 2'10", okay, and then I have my final wall dimension. So from the grid line, or let's see, yeah, the grid line, I have 4'9" to there, it looks like. So half the battle, I feel like, with drawing these sometimes is really figuring out where the dimensions occur and reference, you know, where everything is referenced from. There we go. 4'9", and there we go. And this little guy comes over here and goes to there. Okay. And the bathroom wall is going to be in alignment with the edge of that wall. So right there to there. So AL, click, click, and we have our bathroom. Delete some of these dimensions. Okay, now one really bad thing I've done, I haven't saved my project. So if my power went out or, you know, somebody unplugged my computer, I would lose everything right now probably. So I'm going to save this. And we will call this Private Final Project. Okay. All right. So we have a lot of good stuff going on here. Let's do the fireplace next. Okay. So the fireplace, it's the CMU block wall. It's just CMU block. And so we're going to have to create another wall type. And it goes from grid line D down to, do we have a dimension on that? So this one is kind of tricky. Let me create my wall type and then I'm going to talk about how to generate this. So this one is just going to be, it looks like just CMU. So I'm going to grab my CMU wall type, hit edit type, duplicate, we'll call this W3, maybe W3, CMU block only. Okay. Edit type. Ooh, I didn't mean to change that to CMU block only. I want this to be my W1. There we go. Let's go back here to, I'm going to edit type, edit, and I'm going to get rid of everything. Delete, 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 delete. I'm going to move, I'm even going to delete my finish. I'm going to change just my structure to CMU. Okay. And it's 7 5/8 inch. Okay. So here is sort of the tricky thing, unless somebody else found a dimension. It doesn't appear as if there's a dimension on this fireplace, right? It does appear as if it starts at, you know, this grid line, which is grid line D, right? I guess it's a pretty good illustration because sometimes you have to just count things to get the right dimension, right? So I know that each of these blocks are 16 inches long, right? The CMU is 8 by 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it looks like a half block. So 6.5 times by 16 inches is 104 inches. So this fireplace is 104 inches, right? That might not be something that you probably would have thought of at this point, right? Because I probably wouldn't have thought of it at first, right? Either, honestly. You could also have, if you didn't think to measure it like that, something else you could have done is you could have printed out this piece of paper and you could have used your scale, right, to measure it. So if it's 1/4 of an inch is equal to a foot, you could have measured it and you would have gotten, you know, 104 inches off your print. So that would have been another way to go about it. But essentially it's 104 inches. It's getting late, huh? And this fireplace goes in 3 blocks, or 2. Oh, come on, zoom in there. There we go. So I have 1 full block here, and I'll just assume we have a half block and a half block. So that'll be 2 blocks, which is 32 inches, right? And then we have 1, 2, 3 blocks, okay? So it's really just, to get this fireplace correct, you're just gonna have to count the blocks on it. I think that's really the best way. So I might actually even kind of draw it off to the side and move it in, or I'm just gonna maybe draw something and get it as close as I can to this and then, you know, revise it after the fact. So we've got 1 block, which is 16, 2 blocks, that's 32 inches. And I know that I know the fireplace somewhat goes like this, and then it comes down, right? And then it goes like that. And then I know that it somewhat goes like that. And then it sort of ends there, okay? I'm gonna go and do a 3D mode and look at it. There's our little house. I might have made a very big mistake. Very bad. Nobody even called me out. My walls are unconnected. They're too tall, right? Let me fix that real quick. I'm gonna grab all my walls, right? So I hovered, tabbed. Ooh, it's not collecting. Hover, tab, click. I'm gonna press Control and just kind of pick my walls. There we go. And I forgot to connect them level 1 to top of wall. So they start at level 1 and they go up to top constraint, which will be top of wall. Okay. I mean, luckily Revit's very forgiving. I didn't do something right. I'm able to fix it pretty quickly. This fireplace though, I'm going to grab all these fireplace walls. These go from level 1 up to top of chimney, right? So that looks pretty good. Okay, if I look back at my drawings here at the elevations, there we go. There's our chimney. Looks the way it should. Okay. So I've kind of got my chimney the way it should be, but it's in the general location, but it's definitely not dimensionally correct. So I'm going to fix that now. I'm going to do DI dimension, and I'm going to tab. There we go. And I know that this one's going to be a little bit tricky. I don't think I'm going to do overall. I think I'm actually going to do halvesies. And we kind of have to clear out this wall in between the fireplace to get it to function correctly. So let's see, what's going to be my best way of going about this? I think I'm actually going to have to use a reference plane to do this, which we haven't done before in practice here, but I think it's going to be good to see it. So I'm going to draw a reference plane to help me. Actually, no, I think I might be able to use this grid line. That appears as if it kind of goes right down the center of that fireplace. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to use this grid line. I was going to draw a reference plane and dimension the reference plane and have that help me get the fireplace in the right spot. But I just noticed this, this grid line goes down the center of that fireplace. So I can use that instead. So I'm going to DI dimension to that grid line. Even though it's kind of far up there, it doesn't really matter. Tab, tab. There we go. I'm going to click on this, and that was 32 inches, so half of that is 16. That doesn't look, oh, that's fine. Okay. Okay, but by doing that, you know, it's intersecting with this wall, and that's not right. So we have to kind of fix this wall. All right, so I'm going to show you something that is new we haven't talked about before. We're going to have to use it here, and we're going to have to use it right here, all right? And what I'm going to show you is how to cut an opening in a wall, right? So if you have like an open walkway, right, that's not a door, but you want to have an opening in a wall for people to pass through, we can create what's called a vertical opening in a wall or other things. So I'm going to maximize my Revit here real quick just to show you. But if I go to architecture and I go to wall, openings, there's openings, wall, click. This will allow me to, I can click on the wall I want to generate the opening, click, click, and I just drew a rectangle over the area of the wall I wanted to make an opening. This one is, this is like the opening on a roof. It's a little, you have 3 clicks, but the 2 last clicks are not very evident on the screen. Let me do that again. So I highlight, click, and then I click a second time, but I guess I get a little bit of a visual, but it's not hugely evident. But do you see how I clicked on the wall again? I clicked there and it made an opening. All right, so what does that look like? That looks like, if I were to look at it with a camera, which we haven't done, don't worry. It looks like that. There's the opening in my wall right there. Okay, so I'm just kind of peeking in my room right here, and I've created an opening in my wall. And an opening in a wall, it's actually an object, right? So the opening is an object. It's a void. So if I click on that object, you see I get grips, and I can drag these grips all the way to where I want it to go. Okay, I can align AL. There we go. Escape AL. There we go. If I click on that opening, I also can define a base and a top, right? So it's connected to level 1, and I probably want it to go all the way up to top of wall. And I don't want a top offset. Okay, so that will create an opening, and let's look at my little camera again. See, that creates an opening all the way through that wall right there. Okay, but it's a void, so actually the wall still exists and it's still continuous. I didn't cut the wall up, I just essentially masked over the top of it. I put a void over it so we can't see it. It sort of obscures it. And the same thing is going to happen right here. So if I go back, I'll have this on the screen. I'm going to go back to my level 1 floor plan. Window tile, WT. And watch right here what happens when I create a wall opening right here, right? So I'm going to go to architecture, wall, click, see how it cut an opening in that wall. Okay, now this opening, 2 foot, well, the opening is 15'6". Okay, so in this case, it's going to go all the way to AL, a line from there to there. Oop, got some weirdness going on with it. We'll get it very close. It's wanting to unjoin my wall. Very close, close enough. We'll just get it pretty close. 4, 5, 6. There we go. So I've got my nice opening there. And I don't know if we have an elevation that shows us what's happening, but that's probably good enough. Or we could just make it a full opening. There we go. So I've just opened up my floor plate. All right, so now that my wall's out of the way, right, we had to kind of figure that out before I could change my fireplace. God, that's just not right, is it? Let's see, something is off here with my fireplace. Let's look at it. I've got one block, 16, it's about 32 inches. So that's 16 inches on either side, 8 and 8, okay. So maybe a better way of going about this is to dimension from the grid line. Still doesn't look correct. What is going on? Let's see. Am I missing a dimension? 5 foot. 2, 3. Oh, I was doing 8. I don't know. What was I doing? Something wrong, right? Something wasn't. Because that looks right. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, and then this little guy lines up there. AL, align. There we go. So I've got my fireplace now. I don't know how they've really detailed this, so I think really what I would just look for, I'm going to create another wall here. 1, 2, 3, so it's 16, 16, 16. Oh, I need to make sure the length is correct. DI, dimension. I don't know how they've detailed it, so I'm not super worried about kind of exactly how the fireplace works other than you have a representation here. So it was what, 104 inches long. There's our cute little fireplace. And then they've got some insert or something happening here, right, for the fireplace. 1, 2, 3 blocks long. That's 30, 42 inches. Again, I'm counting blocks to get that dimension. 1, 2, 3. will click on that and hit create similar and just draw from here to there to kind of make it look the way it should. And I think that's probably good enough for us right now. Okay. Okay. So we've got our fireplace in. Any questions so far? All right. I think what I'm going to do next is, instead of doing windows and doors, because you all seem to do pretty well with that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the floor, and then I'm going to add the basement walls, and then maybe we'll split the class next time. We'll do half, because we have to add stairs, which is part of this. So you're going to miss out on the best part, Robert. I'm just kidding. Good night. I think we'll kind of split our lecture next time, because we need to talk about stairs, which the stairs are going to involve altering this edge. So we'll open this project back up. We'll talk about stairs. We'll talk about altering the project and adding the stairs. Okay. And then we'll just continue on with adding elements, I think, essentially. So part of next lecture will be new material in the form of stairs, but also adding more to the project. So I don't think we'll get to the roof on this project tonight, but hopefully we'll be able to do that next time. Okay, but I'll just continue to draw and get as far as I can. All right, so let me add the floor here. And before I do the floor, though, I'm actually going to change the floor plate a little bit, because part of the late term assignment, right, was to add, was it 3 or 4 feet to the south side here? 4 feet. Okay, so I need to move this actually out 4 feet. All right, so instead of this being 19 feet, it's going to be 23 feet. So we're going to move grid line down 23 feet. Okay, so AL align, click. I'm going to click on the face of my core. There we go. So I've just moved that out 4 feet. Okay, so I've got the extra room that is required. And now I'm going to draw my floor. All right, so my floor here, I'm going to draw kind of the main level floor, and then I'm going to actually use floors to create the deck right here and this deck right here. It's going to be a different type of floor. So I'm going to go to architectural floor, and I'm going to quickly draw this. I'm going to use wood trusses here with that one. We'll do that one. And I'm just going to come in here and draw it where it needs to go. Here we go. We've got our oh, didn't go where I wanted it to go. That's okay. I'm just going to continue to draw, and then I'll fix that once I finish. Again, right, Revenant isn't always about getting things exactly correct when you draw them, because you can always go back and fix things. And in fact, the floor, well, we'll just do it this way for now. We'll have it come pretty close. I'm going to align it on this edge, and that's okay. There we go. And I'm getting very close. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to use the align tool, AL, and I know there were some spots that didn't quite go where they needed to go. This is one of them. So tab, click, align. And I think I had one more area down here. Escape, escape. AL, tab, 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 click, align. There you go. And this is going to be at level 1. Finish. and I have my floor there. Okay. I probably should have kind of traced it out here to the fireplace actually. So I'm going to click, 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 draw it out. We'll just make it look the way it should. However they've done that. I'm going to split this line. Click and trim. TR. Click, 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 click. There we go. Finish it up. There's our lovely floor. All right. Now, so I've got my floor in place. I'm going to go into 3D. I always like to just go into 3D and just kind of look at things. That looks pretty good to me. Okay. I've got some decks out here that I also need to create. So I'm going to generate those right now. I'm going to create a new floor type for the decks. We'll just make it very simple. The decks will just be, we'll say they're 2x12s. Okay. So I'm going to hit edit type, duplicate, and we'll call this deck floor. Hit OK. Edit type and delete, delete, and we'll do this. There we go. Okay, okay. Oh, did I change it? I changed my floor. Tab, tab. Tab, tab, tab. There's my floor. There we go. Okay. So now it's time for me to draw my decks, and I'm going to draw this big deck first, and it looks like it kind of goes off this corner down over to grid line 8, and then it, do you have a dimension here? Doesn't appear as if we have a dimension. Maybe 6 feet? We'll just see how that goes. I'm going to guess. Okay, so I'm going to go to floor, and I'm going to choose my deck floor and draw a boundary. So it's going to go from here out to grid line 8. Yes. All the way down to there. I'm just going to guess it's about 5, it looks about 5 feet. And it appears as if it goes, there's not really a dimension there unless I'm missing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe about right there. So that deck is just going to come in there. Here we go. Hit finish. And there's my deck. I have another deck over here. And that goes, gosh, we don't, maybe there's a dimension on the section, but I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to draw something. So, floor. And got my, looks like it goes to about here. We'll make that, we'll make it an 8-foot deck. There we go. Finish. And there's my next deck. Okay. We're going to talk about railings with stairs, so I'll show you how to put railings on there, but I've got my little house, my little cabin, and I've got my little decks happening where people can go out and bathe on their patio, right? In the privacy of their little cabin. All right, so maybe I'm gonna maybe I'll do the roof. I'll finish with the roof tonight because I think that might be a little more complicated than the foundation walls. So we'll do the stairs and foundation walls next time, but let me just do the roof for you all because I think that will.
Is it frustrating for you to have to teach what you can draw in an hour over the course of like 2 months?
No, no.
It's just crazy, you know what I mean? Like, you spend so much time, I can barely grasp it, and there's like an hour, you almost done the whole thing.
That's frustrating for us.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to think, right? I've been doing it for 10 years,
Right.
12 years.
I wonder how boring. I was thinking how boring it gets for you. Like, oh my gosh.
No, actually, no. I mean, there's so many like surprising scenarios that occur in that time, right? Plus, it's kind of good practice, right? Just to continue to do it over and over. It's funny to say, but I actually, a lot of times, drafting is really kind of a soothing thing to do, you know? There were times I would go in the office and I would just kind of look forward to being able to sit there and draft all day, because it was just really kind of...
Yeah, I'm sure once you have the gist of it and understand what you're doing.
That's true. Once you get past the cry stage. Yeah, we like to call it the cry stage. Okay, so here I am at the roof, and we have two roofs actually that we need to draw, and I want to see both of them. This is A on A31, and let's see, that gives me somewhat of a good idea. We've got a lower roof and we have a higher roof, right? And ooh, it's starting to get towards the end of the night. Doing so well all day. All right, so we have the high roof and we have the low roof, and that high roof, it starts at, let's see, sorry, let me get my bearings here again. Where are we at? So we're cutting the chimney here, which would be this piece. Okay, so that is the 47, that's the 15-foot mark right there, right? So let's look at this roof actually right here, and that's the one that goes through the chimney. So this roof section over here, if I'm looking at this correctly, it starts at that 10-foot, yeah, 10-foot 3, right? So it starts at level 2, top of wall, and it goes up to the top of roof, okay, which is from top of floor, it's 15 foot 4. Okay, so if I remember right, that's the lower roof. And if I look at this, it has a 112 slope, right? So let's draw that. And I'm going to go back to my floor plan here, or my roof plan. Let's see where it's at here. We're cutting through the chimney right here. So the piece of roof that I'm going to draw first is this piece. Okay, and I can see the outline of the building below it. You see that dashed line? That indicates where the building below that roof is. Okay, so it goes to there. So let's do that first. Okay, so I'm going to go to top of wall, and we're likely going to have to adjust these. Again, we're going to have to adjust these, right? It's what you do in Revit, you revise things. And so I can see the underlay of my walls below, but I think that might have just been a fluke, because likely when you go to your roof plans, you won't see anything. You'll see maybe the chimney, but you won't see the walls. And the reason behind that, again, we've kind of talked about this, but it's because if I look at my levels, if I look at my roof plan here, I'm looking 4 feet above the roof plan, right? Or top of wall, I'm looking 4 feet above top of wall, so I'm not cutting anything there. That's why I don't see my walls in that view. And so to remedy that, I have to use my view range, all right, to change that. So this one was lucky. We were lucky here, and it has, let's see, we've got an underlay going here. So level 1, I'm going to change that to none. And what I am going to do is go to my view range, edit, and the bottom needs to be level below. Level below. Okay. So now I can see all that good stuff. And now I can use that to help me draw my roof. Okay. So I'm at top of wall. I'm going to draw my roof. I'm going to click on roof by footprint. And I need to start looking at this. And I'm probably going to start somewhere maybe kind of in here drawing my roof. Okay. I have a 5-foot overhang on this edge. So I'm going to use my pick tool and 5 foot, enter. Click. Okay. I have a 2'6" overhang right here. 2'6", enter. we go. Oops, that was a mistake. And then I've got this is actually 5'6" here. So 5'6", enter. There we go. This kind of comes out to here, it looks like. This is 11 foot from grid line 6. From here to here, it's 11 foot. So from grid line 6, let's see, there we go. DI dimension. So from the building to there we have, oh, it doesn't quite go out to grid line 8. We have 11 foot. Okay. So this little guy, this little kickback here, happens 2 feet off of grid line 3. So grid line 3, I've got a 2 foot offset, right? And it doesn't look, this doesn't look pretty, right? It doesn't look correct, but it will start looking that way soon. I'm going to trim, TR, click, 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 right? So it comes down, it goes over, it kinks down, which is the way it should look. Oh, it's 3 feet there. 3 feet, I did that on accident. So instead of 2 feet, oh, it is 3 feet, okay. And I go all the way to here, which is 11 foot, right? Goes all the way to there. I think my deck needs to be adjusted just a tiny bit. Goes to here. And that upper roof, which I'm drawing, right? It goes all the way over, so it's going to come all the way down to here, which is grid line C. And the edge of that roof is 6'9" off of grid line D. Okay, so grid line D is this line right here. And that is, I'm going to move it, MV, 6'9", enter. Right, and I'm going to trim TR, click, 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 click. And now I have the outline of my roof, right? Now I'm going to look back at my section here real quick because I don't remember. A on A30. Let's see. So the low portion is the opposite side of the fireplace, right? So this is the high portion of the roof. This is the low portion of the roof, okay? So I have to have full screen to do this part. So if this is the high portion and this is the low portion, we're essentially going to allow this line to slope up to that portion, okay? So I feel like this is a bit counterintuitive, but what that means is that only this line of my roof, my single slope roof, will be sloping. And it's going to be sloping at a 1/12 slope, okay? So each of these other lines, I'm just going to drag and select them all at the same time. They, oh, I might have picked something I shouldn't have. Here we go. They don't need to be defined with slope because they're not sloping. Only this one is sloping. Now, all of these lines follow this one, right? The roof slopes up, and all of these edges and things, they slope up with that roof. But the way we define this roof, this is the only one that has a slope attached to it. And it's going to be 1/12. And I'm going to hit finish. Let's do this. I want to turn to a 3D view so that we can look at it. We can see the magic happen, right? At the same time. There's our roof sketch. I'm going to hit finish, and there's our roof. Okay. Now I'm going to adjust my deck a little bit under here because I bet that it, while I'm looking at this, AL, I'm sure that it probably follows the roof line here. Here we go. But now the roof looks good. It starts at top of wall and it goes up, right? These walls are not sort of following it. So I'm going to select those walls, and you notice if I click on one, hold control, click again, click again, click again. I can choose attach top to base. Click on that, and all of those walls connect up to that roof. There There we go. Okay. One more, I promise, I'll be done. Everybody's getting tired. Good night. I'll do the other side of the roof and then we'll call it for tonight. All right, so I'm going to go back to my my top of wall. Let's close that out. And I have this roof, right? And now it's time for me to do the, that is the, let's see, that's through the chimney. That is the higher roof, right? And now I want to do a lower roof, essentially, okay? So this roof starts at 8 foot above finished floor. So I can create, let's just create another level. There's nothing wrong with that. So we'll call this top of wall, and I'm going to create another level, LL. And we are going to call this one, and it's going to be 8 foot above level 1. 8 foot, enter, oop, change my scale to 1/4 inch. There we go. And we will call this top of low wall. Okay. So that's where my next roof is going to start, and then it will slope up gently at a 112 slope to wherever it ends, essentially. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my my low, wherever the roof starts, I want to start at. So I'm going to go to top of low wall. And sorry, I always forget. The chimney is the high point. I always forget which way this is sloping. All right, so now it's time for me to draw this portion of the roof. Okay. And so I'm going to go back to my lovely roof plan and look to that to see where that roof is going. And it looks like we have 3'6", 3'6", 3'6", 3'6", and then we have, it looks like it ends a foot off of this grid line, which is grid line C. Okay. So I'm going to go to roof by footprint, and this one is going to be, let's see, it's going to be, I'm going to use the line. I'm going to type 3'6", enter, and really I'm just going to start drawing from my grid line. Right, and it's drawing a 3'6" overhang all the way around. Okay, except for when I get to this point and I want a 1 foot overhang. So at this grid line I get a 1 foot overhang, and I draw it. It's not perfect, but that's okay because I'm going to TR trim, and it looks good. And again, this is my low point of my roof, this is my high point of the roof. And so, and it's a single slope roof, which means I'm going to grab all of these lines here and uncheck define slope. And this one's going to change to a 112. And see, I always cross my fingers at this point. I'm like, please work, right? I spent all this time drawing you. Lovely roof. And let's do WT, window tile, and we'll look at this and hit finish, and there's the other lovely portion of my roof. Okay, and I'm going to use attached, so ooh, we got a little tricky thing right there. We'll talk about that next time. I can still use attached top to base. I can grab all those walls that are kind of poking through, right? I want to grab these that aren't quite, whoops, these that aren't quite hitting it. There we go. And attach top to base. Click. And they all very nicely attach to that roof. We have a little issue happening on the inside here. So I will talk about that. I'll talk about that next time, I think. But we're going to have to draw a wall on the inside here with a base offset that will not show on the floor plan, but will cover that gap in between the two roofs, right? here's the great thing about Revit, right? I like being able to look at my little house and I see things happening. I see results, right? There's a little house there and I can see, you know, progress being made, and it looks like a real house. So that's kind of one of my favorite things about Revit. All right, I think we'll stop there. And I'm gonna go to level 1 here. So next time we meet, we'll do stairs, I'll add the basement. Okay, so we'll go from there. Any questions before we stop? Okay, all right.